Joining me today are Council President Terrence Freeman, Superintendent of Duval County Schools Dr. Diana Green, Chief Powers from Jacksonville Fire and Rescue, and Division Chief Todd Smith from the Emergency Preparedness Division. Al Sandrick with the National Weather Service is with us as well. We've also been in direct and continued contact with the Beaches and Baldwin mayors to bring the latest updates to help you get prepared. As of 11 a.m. this morning, the entire city of Jacksonville is under a tropical storm warning. Ian is located off of the western coast of the state and is predicted to move northeast into our region mid to late week. The storm is nothing to take for granted. This is not the time to be complacent. That's why I am declaring a state of emergency for Duval County and activating the Emergency Operations Center, both effective 12 p.m. tomorrow, Wednesday, September 28th. The City Council will convene today to discuss the emergency declaration. For the Beaches communities, Jacksonville Beach declared a state of emergency effective last night. Neptune Beach is declaring a state of emergency at 3:30 p.m. today. And finally, Atlantic Beach will declare at noon tomorrow. For those that do not know, a state of emergency declaration allows the city to more easily allocate dollars and resources to best protect lives and property. In addition, all city offices will close to the public and non-essential personnel beginning tomorrow at noon, Wednesday, September 28th. As of 5 p.m. tomorrow evening, we will open the Legends Center for anyone who needs emergency shelter. This is the only confirmed shelter as of today, but this could change as the storm approaches. Following our briefings with the National Weather Service this morning, Ian could possibly be a hybrid of Irma, resulting in significant risk of major flooding. If you lived here through Irma, you'll recall areas that flooded. The bottom line is, if you flooded during Irma, you have the potential to flood again, so you need to take today and get prepared. This applies to all of Duval County, but specifically those in downtown, Jacksonville, the Beaches, San Marco, Riverside, Southampton, Pirates Cove, Ortega area, Venetia, and the area around the stadium. These all face significant flooding risks. I want to repeat this again. If you live or have property in these areas, please stay vigilant, and if you haven't already, prepare for the possibility of a major flooding event. Currently, the biggest threat to our area is excessive rainfall, moderate winds, and tornadoes, with the biggest impact starting late Wednesday, continuing through Thursday and into Friday morning. Like I said yesterday, the weather outside is nice today, so now's the time to check around your home and your yard for waste, debris, and secure loose furniture. It's very possible that once this storm hits our area, we could have storm force winds for an excessive period of time, for maybe even up to 24 hours. This is also time to make sure you have your supply kit together and you know your flood and evacuation zones. With that, I invite my colleague and Duval County School Superintendent, Dr. Diana Green, to talk about potential school closures and further instructions for parents. Following Dr. Green will be Chief Keith Powers. He has new information about emergency teams that will respond to the storm. Dr. Green?
Thank you, Mayor. Duval County Public School closures and cancellations in response to Hurricane Ian are as follows. Wednesday, September 28th, early dismissal. Students will be dismissed 2.5 hours earlier than they would on a normal school day. Wednesday is already a scheduled early release. We are shortening the early release day by 45 minutes, thus school will end 2.5 hours earlier than normal. Extended day and after-school childcare programs will operate on regular hours tomorrow. Athletic activities and extracurricular activities are canceled until October 3rd. District offices will close Wednesday at 5 p.m. Thursday, September 29th, school and district offices closed, all activities canceled. The October 14th weather day will be a regular school day for students and staff. Friday, September 30th, schools and district offices closed, all activities canceled. It will not be necessary to make this day up based on the time already planned in the school calendar. For all school board employees, please continue to check your emails for updates as it relates to work hours. And in closing, I wish all of our staff and all of the families safety and security as we prepare for the storm ahead. Thank you.
Good afternoon. JFRD continues to prepare for the hurricane that we are now facing. At 4 o'clock this afternoon, we are going to deploy a ERAT team to Orlando to mesh up with federal and state USAR teams to help clear roads and debris so those teams can get into the hardest hit areas in the state at a quicker pace than normal. That again will happen at 4 o'clock this afternoon. In addition, we are also activating and deploying locally our own USAR team, Task Force 5, which will be operating out of the Prime Osborne Convention Center. They will be with us throughout the duration of the storm as long as we have damage in their need. They will also have a swift water asset embedded within that team. Tomorrow, starting at 1400 hours or 2 o'clock, we will also have 5 emergency road access teams that will be deployed locally throughout our area that will consist of members of JSO, JEA, and contractors with heavy equipment to clear our roads as necessary. And they will be located on each side of town to help those areas of town that are in the most need. So with that, Mayor, I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah, thank you. And I would just say that, again, this is based on the current models of the storm. Hopefully, it moves and everybody's safe, but we're going to do the right thing right now and make sure we're prepared. We'll take questions now.
Just a couple of questions. First for the superintendent. Why even open schools tomorrow for that short amount of time, since parents are going to just have to turn around and pick up their kids again?
That is a normally scheduled early release day. So it is no different if we weren't having a hurricane event, that they would normally come pick up their students. And since it is scheduled or slated to not be an event till late in the evening Wednesday, we really feel like we need to ensure that our students are receiving their instructional because we are required by law to have a certain number of hours of instructional minutes, especially at the secondary level.
Do you believe that's going to create some hardships, though? I mean, like I said, you're closing them, I think you said like an hour earlier than normal, so you're just dropping them off, picking them up.
Not necessarily. Many of our families need our schools to be open, not just for educational purposes, but also for safety and security if they have their work schedule. Also for breakfast, lunch, students will still receive those services when they attend for an early release. Again, our parents are very used to this. It is no different than, as I stated, if there wasn't a hurricane, tomorrow would be a regularly scheduled early release day.
Since we're going to see, and this is for the mayor or probably Mr. Smith, but...
No, Jim, let me just add, in my discussions with Dr. Green last night and again this morning, obviously this is her decision. 100% think it's the right decision, given the timing of the models and the importance of kids having access to what they need in our schools.
You're saying this is going to be just like Irma. The flooding that we saw from that just really took people by surprise. The South Shore area over in Memorial Park. You've got so much construction now downtown that things have changed down there. And you said they're going to have flooding near the stadium. That's all torn up now. What's going to happen there? What does the city need to be doing? You're saying people be prepared, but are you ready?
Well, we've been preparing now. We've been preparing for a crisis since I was elected the first time in 2015. And over the years, as we've been through these storms, we've done additional investments in the budget. Public Works is always working these areas to make sure they're prepared for events, and they ramp those efforts up before. We've been through this a number of times since I've been in office. We can't fully predict exactly what weather will do. I mean, the flooding that happened in Irma, the extent of it surprised a lot of people, but we responded and reacted, and we'll be better for it this time.
To that point, and to Jim's point, you very much have a blueprint of what this could look like as it follows a very similar track. Knowing those areas specifically, have you tweaked your plans and tailored them specifically to that?
Well, I mean, I would say if you go back to both of the hurricanes, we spent time looking at areas and evacuation zones, and many of those places we had people under mandatory evacuation that chose not to evacuate. So, as if this time we're not evacuating people today, that could change as the storm gets closer. And my advice to people would be, if we do a mandatory evacuation, you should evacuate. If we don't do a mandatory evacuation, we may actually say, if you live in these areas, we suggest that you move and get out of that spot as the storm comes through.
What would you say the biggest change is between the city's response to Irma and the city's anticipated response?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things is more investments in the budget to deal with flooding and storms. Something we already have in our CIP, but we've enhanced those efforts. But I mean, we're always learning. But going through the crisis, our search and rescue teams, our workers, our firemen, our policemen and women, our public works, they all stepped up and answered the call and are prepared to do that again. Many of them put their lives in danger. We actually had, in one of the two storms, we actually had public safety workers that injured themselves helping people. But what we don't want people to do is, if there is an evacuation or we suggest to get out of a flood zone, we ask you to take that advice.
With the significant investment that's been made downtown that Jim was talking about, I imagine you've had conversations with the stakeholders in some of those investments. What has that conversation looked like?
I mean, we're in the middle. Right now, we are all collaborating. Emergency Operations Center, even though it is now going to be active full-time, I've got a team of people from every agency that are in communication with stakeholders, have been for the past week, and that will continue.
Mayor, we got one shelter opening tomorrow. I guess, Todd, if you could answer this. People that with special needs, I know are supposed to register, can they still register? And is this a pet-friendly shelter, and do they need to register those pets?
The special medical needs registry is open year-round. jacksready.com. That special registry link is there. You do not need to register a pet for just a regular pet-friendly shelter. You would need to register a pet for a special needs client. So in the registry for the special needs client, register your pet as well. As shelters or decisions are made or more are added, then we'll update that information appropriately.
So you can just show up with a pet? Do you need to bring anything? What happens?
Well, anytime that a family responds to a shelter or chooses that as their safe place, make sure you bring your kit, activate your plan, bring special documents that are particular to your family, and all of the needs that you would have for your pet, as well as your family members, prescriptions, all of those things that we message year-round on jacksready.com. And there's some special information, jacksready.com shelters as well.
Dr. Green mentioned that a lot of families rely on school for many different reasons. I know food being one of them. Duval Schools offers free lunches for all students. Is there any way to get food or other supplies to these families who might be without? Right now we know school will be out for 2 days, but you never know. It could be longer.
Tomorrow, it will be normally scheduled breakfast and lunch. If we are needed for shelters, we are prepared to open our shelters, and we work with our partners, Chartwells, to also provide food at shelters for supporting our families. We'll, as it relates to possibly opening up schools during Thursday or Friday, our schools will not be open. Our staff will be prepared if we need to check for debris or remove debris from our schools this weekend.
What about trash pickup with regards to yard waste and all of that in the next coming days?
Yeah, well, there hasn't been any official changes yet, but expect that information to come out very soon.